Hey there, Sun here, and as you saw in the title, I'll be going over the three-step productivity routine or system that will make you extremely successful. Now, this three-step productivity routine or system is extremely simple yet supremely powerful. With that being said, I believe that a lot of people live in confusion, and this confusion is intentionally created by our mind because our mind prefers to avoid pain, and it's pretty painful to look at the cold hard facts, to look at the cold hard reality that you are living in. The reality for a lot of people is that they're probably wasting a lot of time, and that's why, and they're not working on the right stuff as well. So that's why they are not where they want to be yet. With that being said, I'm going to be showing you a system that you can use to overcome this um, block in your mind, in your subconscious, that prevents us from actually auditing, analyzing, and improving what we're doing every single day. Because if we can conquer the day, then we can conquer our goals. Because if you work on the right stuff every single day and you're efficient every single day, then that means that if you worked on the right stuff and you were efficient when you were doing that for that day, and you kept repeating these efficient and productive days every single day, for lack of a better word, then you'll have productive weeks. And if you have productive weeks, you're going to have productive months. Productive months means productive years, and you'll achieve your goal pretty soon if you are able to do this consistently. Because all of those days compound, and pretty soon you'll achieve what you wanted to achieve, provided you work on the right of efficiency. So, with that in mind, let's go over the three steps or parts for confidence. Right? Firstly, first part is the current time expenditure audit. Secondly, the second part is expenditure optimization. The third component or part or step is continuous improvement plus optimization. These are the three components, parts or steps in this productivity system. Now, the current time expenditure audit. What do I mean by that? Well, if you see these three steps, it kind of looks like financial management, right? I'm talking about this like finance, like a finance guru or something like that. Well, it's because time is a it's like a currency. It's more valuable than money. It's kind of like money, but more valuable. That's why we have all these three steps. So let's talk about the first step, right? Current time expenditure audit. This step was designed keeping in mind our subconscious tendency to conveniently forget the stuff No, that is painful. Right? We sometimes don't even remember what we had for breakfast the previous day or even the current day sometimes, right? That's how finicky our memory can be, right? So to overcome this, we have built this first step. For this, what you would need for this entire system, for the three steps, you need a kitchen timer first. And what you need to do for the first part, right? A kitchen timer like this, by the way. And what you need to do for the first part is you need to start, by setting a timer for 15 to 30 minutes and then do whatever you do normally. But don't try to optimize anything. Don't try to improve anything. Just do what you do normally without trying to improve anything. And once the timer is completed, just write down what you did in those 15 to 30 minutes. Remember, don't try to improve anything for the first few days, right? For the first week, even if you want to do that. For the first few days, don't try to improve anything and then just write down what you have done in those 15 to 30 minutes, right? Then once the time is over, set, set the timer again for 15 to 30 minutes. And then write down what you did in those 15 to 30 minutes. And then repeat that for the entire workday, right? At the end of the workday, if you did this properly, you now have a time log or time expenditure audit or report that you can use to make decisions. Right? You need good data to make good decisions. This gives you a clear view to what you are actually spending your time on. It gives clarity on your reality. Right? That's why this step is very, very important, right? Because you need to know what you are doing on a usual basis. If you know what you're doing on an usual basis, then you can then, try to figure out, okay, how do I improve everything, right? That leads us to step two, expenditure optimization. This is kind of like a budget, right? You analyze what you're spending your money on first, and then, based on your using your bank statement, for example, and then you optimize, okay, you find what are the unnecessary expenses, and then you remove it. That's what you do, for in the second step, basically. The expenditure audit or report is kind of like a bank statement if you want to look at it like that, right? So step number two, expenditure optimization. Basically, what you do when it comes to managing your money, you eliminate the shit that you don't, that isn't, really important. For example, doom scrolling on Instagram, on social media, or YouTube Shorts. Um, what else? Now, some people tend to get distracted with their emails, um, on LinkedIn. Sometimes that falls under social media, you know. But yeah, you need to remove all these distractions. Now, these distractions are very simple to remove, right? What's more difficult, what's more complex is removing the stuff that doesn't matter in the business, for example, right? If you're running a business, this is an important step that you need to do or process, whatever you want to call it. Now you need to figure out what are your KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. What are the things, if accomplished, mean that day was successful? For me, it means, let me give you an example. In my day, if I want to call my day successful, then that means that my work day that is, then I have to have produced 2 YouTube videos, 1 LinkedIn post, and then I have to have prospected to 100 people at least that day. And then I should have had at least 1 or 2 sales calls on that day. If I have hit those KPIs for that day, then whoa, that day was successful. That work session or work day was productive. You once you figure these KPIs out, right? What do you do next is figure out the actions that need to be done in order to ensure that this KPI is achieved. For example, for producing content, you need to have scripted out your videos, prepare all the other material that you need, such as a slide deck, for example, or graphics. Just an example, right? And that's the scripting process, and then the preparation of the B-roll, basically. And then once those two things are done, then what you need to do is editing, right? Scripting, editing, filming, all those things. Okay, you lay that out, right? And then you're going to allocate a certain amount of time to it. Parkinson's law, basically. Work tends to fill the time that we allocate to it. Let me look at the actual definition. Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the available time. So, allocate, for example, just saying an example, 30 minutes to script, 30 or 1 hour to script, 1 hour, 30 minutes to film, 1 hour to edit. Just an example. Once again, I'm just giving you an example for explanation and demonstration purposes. But yeah, so you allocate the time and you try your best, you do your best to keep to that allocated time, right? Once you determine all those actions, after you determine their KPIs, there you go. Those are the only things that you need to primarily focus on. But the rest of the other stuff is not as important as these. So, with the rest of the other stuff, what do? You either eliminate them if it's completely unnecessary, schedule it for later if it's important but not urgent, or delegate it to someone else, if it's urgent, but it's not important. Right? The priority is not as high as these key tasks. Basically, I'm telling you the Eisenhower matrix here. That's what you need to do. That's how you optimize your expenditure of time. Okay, that's part 2 covered. And what's part 3? Part 3 is continuous improvement and optimization. As days go by, right, your KPIs will change. And if your KPIs change, then your daily actions change as well. And then you need to start, allocating your time differently. And that means that you need to optimize your expenditure of time differently. So that's part 3. You observe you keep continuously auditing your time, right? At least on a rough basis, at least, so that you know what you're actually spending your time on. And then you do your best to improve upon this every single day. That's how you become better every single day. With that being said, that's pretty much the 3-step productivity system. If you follow this properly, of course, you're going to be one of the most efficient people in the world, and you're going to get a lot of shit done faster. You'll accomplish your goals faster, and you will be successful. With that being said, I hope you had, this video was useful. and you extracted some value from this video. With that being said, see you later.